Coming up, a second-story fire leaves few options for escape.
I told my sister and my nephew, I said, we got to go out that window.
Thankfully, first responders were right there. But would they be able to rescue them in time?
Come on, you have to get out!
I did say to myself, she's got about 2 minutes to live.
And later, a fire department battles one of the largest infernos that they have ever encountered.
We ran out down the stairs and just looked up, and the flames were 25 feet in the air already.
With no time to lose, first responders were doing everything they could to get to those in need.
Few disasters are as scary as a house fire, especially when there's very little time to escape. That's why, luckily for this family, they had not only firefighters, but police and even neighbors answering their call, all coming together for their rescue.
The city of Butler, Indiana, is in the northeastern side of the state, about 23 miles outside of Fort Wayne. With a population of just 2,700, to say the town is sleepy might be an understatement.
There isn't really a whole lot to do here, unfortunately, because it's a small city. We have a lot of parks here, though, so a lot of people utilize our parks.
And while they may not have malls or shopping centers, the people here enjoy the perks that come with living in a modest rural community.
Just being able to work for a small community, you can establish relationships with the people. Your general duty is just serving the community, patrolling the streets.
People usually get along pretty good. There's a lot of friendly people here. They help out a lot.
But one chilly January morning, Barbara was about to be helped in ways that she could have never imagined.
I was visiting with my sister, and I'd spent the night there, and we'd just gotten up and had coffee that morning.
As the women relaxed at the kitchen table, Barbara's brother-in-law went down to his first-floor shop. And suddenly, life took a terrible turn.
And the next thing I know, I heard him hollering, get out of the building, that it was on fire.
The two sisters were not the only ones in danger. Barbara's nephew and niece, along with her baby, were also trapped in the upstairs apartment. Barbara immediately jumped into action.
I was very scared, but I was raised to get the youngest ones out first.
Barbara first rushed her niece and niece's baby to the stairwell.
I sent my niece and the baby out first. They managed to make it down the stairs.
But when Barbara, her sister, and nephew tried to escape, smoke and flames had already overtaken the stairs. They had no choice but to retreat.
Safety experts have some key advice to keep you safe in case of a house fire. First, make sure to always have an evacuation plan. Second, make sure your home is equipped with fully operational smoke detectors. And third, make sure to have a working fire extinguisher on hand.
As the smoke and flames raged through the building, Officer Adam Watts was down the street, having what seemed like an ordinary patrol shift.
That morning, I was actually sitting south of the city, just observing traffic flow off the side of the road. When the call came out,
1805.
And as I was responding, I could see smoke probably a good 100, 200 feet in the air.
Officer Watts turned on his siren and rushed to the scene. But back at the apartment building, Barbara knew that there was no time to wait. Downstairs, the fire had caused a propane tank to explode.
Then I heard an explosion, and I seen the window. So I told my sister and my nephew, I said, we got to go out that window.
By this time, Officer Watts made it to the scene.
Worked my way around into the alley between the buildings, and there were some other civilians there. It was just happening real fast.
Barbara and her family had no choice but to jump. Officer Watts, along with a group of people that had come up to help, braced themselves to catch the people trapped in the fire above.
Let's go! Let's go! Come on!
My sister jumped first, they caught her, and my nephew, he was a little scared of heights, so I had to give him a shove. Then I throwed my little dog out.
Barb, come on!
And then shortly after that is when Barb emerged from the window.
Come on, Barb. Come on.
And we're all yelling at her to jump, to jump.
And I went to go out the windows. I had half my body out. And as soon as the cold air hit me, I blacked out.
Coming up, with only moments to spare, the team of heroes would have to devise a daring rescue plan.
She's got about 2 minutes to live. We got 2 minutes to get this woman out of the window.
But first, a safety tip.
If not properly used, many small everyday home items can unfortunately lead to disaster.
Listen, space heaters need space. In many homes, they're necessary, but can also cause fires if too close to other items. Of course, we need to be warm in the winter, but no one wants to cause a house fire, so please give them space.
Listen to the pros when it comes to fire safety. They've seen it all and know all too well how tragedies happen. It's our responsibility to make sure we all have a safer future.
One frigid January morning in Butler, Indiana, Barbara MYNATT and her family had found themselves trapped in an upstairs apartment engulfed by a raging fire. But just as Barbara was about to jump, she passed out with smoke and flames surrounding her, her limp body left hanging half out the window.
But it was definitely the full inside, you could tell, was on fire. Smoke pouring out everywhere, all the cracks in the brick building.
Section 37, two's jumped, got one hanging in the window, fully engulfed.
Time was not on their side. They had to act quickly.
I did say to myself, she's got about 2 minutes to live. We got 2 minutes to get this woman out of the window. And then the next thing in my mind is, how are we going to accomplish this?
Officer Watts and Chief Nichols were not trained firefighters, but they knew if they didn't act quickly, Barbara would not make it out of this ordeal alive.
Come on, you have to get out.
There was a ladder, but the ladder was not high enough to reach the window.
So we got the ladder put up on top of the trailer, and Chief got up, and probably after about 15, 20 seconds, you know, he started yelling for me to come up.
And at that point, I just began to try and pull Barbara out of the window. It was very tough because the thick black smoke was pouring out in my face, and there was probably 3 or 4 times where I just couldn't breathe.
Chief Nichols couldn't get a grasp on Barbara's clothes to pull her out.
All I could do at that point was try and pull her out about an inch or 2 at a time and get her up on my shoulder.
With literally moments to spare, Chief Nichols pulled Barbara out. And with the help of Officer Watts, he descended the unstable ladder with Barbara right over his shoulder. Chief Nichols and Barbara crashed onto the trailer. But the fall may have actually saved her life.
She hit the trailer, and it made her take in a deep breath. And then I saw that her eyes were starting to move a little bit, so I knew then that she was still alive.
Let's get out.
As soon as we got out of the alleyway, and you could see in my body camera, when I turned around, that entire alley was full of smoke. So it was just in a matter of nick of time that we got out of there. Before it was, you couldn't stand in it.
Once they were out of harm's way, Chief Nichols took a moment to process what had just happened.
I was overcome with emotions. It was the first time that I'd ever saved somebody's life to that magnitude, where it was just undeniable that if we wouldn't have got her out of the window, she would have died.
It just goes to show you the lengths these brave heroes will go to in order to save someone's life. Chief Nichols and Officer Watts didn't think about themselves. They just knew that if they didn't act quickly, the outcome could have been tragic.
Barbara, along with Officer Watts and Chief Nichols, were taken to the hospital with minor injuries and smoke inhalation. But Barbara is eternally grateful for the bravery of these 2 men who saved her life.
I thank them very much, and they are my guardian angels. Very much.
You're very much welcome.
I will never forget what they done for me.
Not long after that fateful day, the 2 officers were honored for their service and bravery.
We had a awards banquet, and one of our House representatives was here to award myself and Officer Watts with our life-saving award.
He did not have to do what he did, but his bravery saved my life.
Coming up, 2 firefighters find themselves battling a blaze, threatening their own homes.
You could see the glow in the sky, and then that's when I realized it was our building.
When a 2-alarm fire broke out in an apartment complex in Glenmore, Pennsylvania, it became one of the biggest fires that local station had responded to in more than 50 years. And get this, inside the burning apartment building, 2 people were actually volunteer firefighters from that very same station. Their decisions and bravery that morning certainly saved lives and homes.
40 miles from Philadelphia, Glenmore sits in the heart of one of Pennsylvania's 3 original counties.
Chester County still has a nice rural character that hosts dog shows and horse events throughout the year, which is a big draw for the community.
You're not far from Philly, like being a bigger city, but you're still kind of tucked away where you're a little in the rural area.
The people of Glenmore pride themselves on being a close-knit community, and that feeling is echoed in the members of the local fire department.
I just love being around the guys and the girls of the company. Just the camaraderie, it really truly is like a family.
For fireman Ross Trago, it's literally a family tradition.
My grandfather and father were firefighters, so one day I decided I wanted to follow in their footsteps.
Craig and Ross not only work side by side for the fire department, they also happen to live in the same large apartment complex in town. Little did they know that they would have to come to the rescue of their own neighbors and their own homes early one morning in 2019.
Building's on fire! Out of the building!
The night of the fire, we were all here. Monday night, it's our drill night. Jokingly, we all say to one another, we'll see you at the big one.
He had no idea how true those words would be. In just a few hours, he and his fellow crew would be fighting a 2-alarm fire requiring multiple engines and 150 firefighters. As Lieutenant Craig Sodden settled in for the night, he was gearing up for a big event the next day.
I'm a high school assistant principal. We had a graduation the next day. I was thinking I was gonna wake up in the morning and go to school and have graduation that night, but things kinda took a turn in middle of the night.
It was 1:45 in the morning and fire alarms started sounding. Craig immediately jumped into action.
I got my shoes on and I walked out and I opened the door and I could kind of smell some smoke. So I walked around out front and I looked up and there was just a glow and the fire shooting off that 4th floor balcony.
At the same time, Ross Trago was also awakened by those alarms.
It happens a lot up there at the apartment, so I didn't think anything of it until I walked outside and Craig yelled that there was a building fire in the complex. You could see the glow in the sky, and then that's when I realized it was our building.
My wife was still inside, so I ran back in and told her, like, this is not just a false alarm, building's on fire, like, we gotta go. I knew I needed to get here to get to the station.
As Craig rushed back to the station, Ross ran upstairs to get his fiancée Miranda out.
As we ran out down the stairs, got outside, and just looked up, and the flames were like probably 25 feet in the air already.
Once Miranda was safe, Craig started assisting other people.
Building's on fire!
You got 4 floors of residents. We need to, work to get everyone out as fast as possible.
This way down these steps, please.
By this time, the fire was starting to rage, and it would need more than just one person to make sure everybody got out alive. Coming up, first responders put their own lives on the line to save those in danger.
We realized that the roof was going to come down soon enough, so then we made our way out of the apartment at that point.
But first, this safety tip.
A famous Roman philosopher once wrote, "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others."
First responders are called to emergency situations every day and tasked with ensuring the welfare and safety of everyone.
Whether by protection, rescuing people from harm's way, or administering first aid to save lives, our job is to help you and keep you alive.
So be virtuous and share your gratitude with those who give of themselves to make your world better. Be the solution to the greater future and help spread the word of appreciation for our heroic first responders.
In the early morning hours of June 4th, 2019, a disastrous fire broke out in the Renew apartment complex in Glenmore, Pennsylvania. But, as luck would have it, 2 of the residents were trained firefighters. The blaze was engulfing the apartments, and it was going to take a virtual army of first responders to conquer this inferno. Officer J.R. Kane was one of the first to respond.
I got out of my car and ran to the first floor section of the apartment and started banging on doors, making my way up to the next floor where I met 2 other officers from a neighboring department. And we just continued through the apartment, knocking on doors.
Police department! Police department, building's on fire!
Fire Chief Jeff Kimes quickly arrived at the scene and saw all the impending danger.
The building held about 40 units, and when I arrived on location, the fire was coming from the roof and it was spreading rapidly.
The crew certainly had their hands full. They had to try to put out the fire, but first and foremost, get everybody out safely.
Let's go now, it's burning.
That's what we call organized chaos. Dealing with frantic people, there could be pets that are still in the building that they can't get out.
Chief Kimes was fully aware of the effect that this fire had on 2 of his crew members working that night.
2 of my officers, including my deputy chief, actually lived in the affected building, but immediately that didn't stop them from springing into action and providing safety measures to the residents and making sure everyone was out.
Both Ross and Craig knew, despite their own homes being at risk, the entire team had a job to do.
That's what we prepare for. We prepare for being woken up in the middle of the night and having to go. You don't know what you're getting called to until you actually get there.
Without a doubt, our awesome crew that we had that night didn't second guess it one bit. In they went, they split up, forcing doors, checking apartments.
As firefighters battled the raging blaze, Officer J.R. Kane continued to risk his own life to get people out.
We received a call from our dispatch stating that there was another elderly female on the 4th floor who they weren't sure if she had gotten out. We got her and her dog out, and then we made one more final pass through the apartment, but as we made our way to the 4th floor, we realized that the roof was gonna come down soon enough, so then we made our way out of the apartment at that point.
Yeah, it's coming down, guys!
After hours of fighting the monster fire, it was finally extinguished. And miraculously, everybody made it out safe.
This is probably the largest fire in the history of Ludwig's Corner, and the one thing that I'm proud of the most is that there was not one single injury, not to any firefighter or to any resident that lived in that building.
Even though no one was hurt, sadly, firefighter Craig Sodden and his wife lost their home that night.
That was an eye-opening experience in terms of just, things that we had, developed together and built for 5 years at that point. That was gone.
Despite the loss, this close-knit community came together to support one another.
People came out from all over the area. We're dropping off all kinds of goods for the residents, not only displaced, but making sure that the firefighters were fed. It's just very humbling, the amount of support that we're there to help the community, and there's just as much support back of the community helping us.
Recently, country singer Lee Brice, along with Sheldon Yellen from our sponsor Belfour, had a chance to personally thank the first responders of the Glenmore Fire Department.
Mr. Sheldon Yellen is here tonight, and he's got such a cool thing to do and to say tonight. So I hope it's cool. We invite him out on stage.
Thank you, Lee. And thank you, Chester County. At this time, I'd like you to please join myself and Lee and show an amazing show of gratitude. Chester County's finest, please come on up. On the count of 3, I want to give an amazing thank you to our first responders of Chester County, from all of us to all of you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, first responders of Chester County.
Despite the gratitude of the community, these men and women remain humble in the face of heroism.
I get a little embarrassed by it just because it's just part of the job. I don't see it as going above and beyond. I just see it as what I'm tasked to do.
Ross would be the first one to tell you, no, don't say that. He doesn't want any recognition. To him, he did his job. To have your building burning down and it walk out to it being that bad and keeping his cool, making all the right decisions. He's absolutely a hero.
These communities and all of us are so fortunate to have these brave men and women that save us each and every day. Now, we all owe a deep debt of gratitude to all the first responders. I'm Ginger Zee. Thanks so much for watching.